Hey, True Believers, Englentine here with another First Appearance Friday. This time it's the first family of Marvel Comics, the Fantastic Four. My favorite story of how the Fantastic Four came to be is Martin Goodman from Marvel having a golf game with Jack Leibowitz and Jack bragging about Justice League and its success. And Martin says, well, wait a second, we need our own superhero story. Goes to Lee, and, you know, the rest is history. That's been debunked. And it's just kind of an office thing now. I like the golf game so much better than somebody in the office going, you know what, those books over there, they're selling better. Why don't we have a team of superheroes? And then going up to Lee and saying, we need one. Yeah. But it did come at a time where we all know this is history. We all know that Lee was done. He was actually finding that comic books were a bit restrictive. He was not as interested, and so he said, you know what, I'm going to write the type of story that I want to read. Now here is something. Kirby and Lee they fought over who actually created it, but this is something that even Lee said. He wrote up the synopsis and he gave it to Kirby, who drew the book, and then Lee would fill in the dialogue and the word balloons and such, so the descriptive balloons. So we know that to be true. So as far as the success of the Fantastic Four, there are plenty of fathers. And with that brief bit of history out of the way, let's take a look at Fantastic Four #1. Starting off with the cover, you got to ask yourself, is this a good cover or is it just a classic cover because it's the Fantastic Four #1? I like it. I think it is very good. I would prefer less word balloons in the description box, but it is what it is. I used to have an Alex Ross print of this, a poster of he did in the 90s, and I thought it was amazing. I wish I still had that. Damn, that was a good poster. But I like the cover too. I don't know, maybe the first page raises a few more questions than it answers, but right away, after we get past the introduction of the characters we're going to meet, which I think is kind of weird, here's the characters, now let's introduce them to you. He creates a cloud that just says, Fantastic Four! That is some freaky fireworks crap going on right there. Naturally, the appearance of the smoke and red letters of the sky cause a little bit of a panic. With the sudden fury of a thunderbolt, a flare shot into the sky over Central City. Central City, not New York. Okay, good to know. This is a little bit different. 3 awesome words take form as if by magic, and a legend is born. And we see Reed Richards in a window, and he's saying, it is the first time I've found it necessary to give the signal. I pray it will be the last. In another part of town, Susan Storm is having tea with a society friend. The society friend alerts her to the signal in the sky when Sue Storm says she has to keep her vow and there's no turning back, so she turns invisible and then exits the room. This confuses her friend, who turns around, doesn't see her there, and then as Sue Storm is walking through a crowd, people are bumping into her because they can't see her, and this raises one big question. Even when she's in the taxi cab, she's invisible. Why and how did the taxi drive? I don't know. Why not just wait until you get to the Baxter building and then change? Just saying. Next, we cut to the Thing, who's out shopping in his disguise. Hat, sunglasses, big overcoat. And he sees the signal and decides to rip off his coat, revealing himself, which of course shocks everybody. And then crashes through the store door. And this just raises the question how he got into the store in the first place if he just walks out and crashes through the doors. So when everybody sees him, especially the cops, everybody panics, and the cops begin to shoot at him. So he rips off a piece of manhole cover, jumps into the sewers, causing quite a bit of property damage. And then he crashes a car with somebody in it. Literally, the first appearance of the Thing proves that he is the monster everybody thinks he is. Next, we meet Johnny Storm, who's fixing a car with his buddy. His buddy says, we got her purring gentle as a lamb, Johnny. Good, that's the way I like her. There's only one thing in the world that interests me more than cars. Yeah, what's that, Johnny? So, Johnny sees the signal in the sky, which is just a 4 instead of the Fantastic Four like it was before, and decides he's going to flame on and flies away, but as he does, he melts the car that they had purring like a kitten into a metal slab. What a dick. The mayor wants to send out the National Guard, but Washington has their own plans, and they send a few planes after Johnny's storm. They get too close, and Johnny actually melts them, accidentally. But still, just by being in the same proximity of them, Johnny was burning so hot that the planes melted. Now, in future incarnations, we do see Johnny Storm standing next to people, so that is something that's actually changed from the first issue into future issues. But before they melted, they do fire off a couple of hunter missiles at him. I can't escape it. It's too fast. It has a nuclear warhead. If it explodes, I'm a goner. So they fired a nuclear warhead at him. Oh, Silver Age, you are awesome. Suddenly, the Human Torch's flame begins to diminish, and as the missile is about to strike him, two impossibly long arms reach above the rooftops, and got it. Moving with dazzling speed, one of the incredible arms hurls the mighty missile far from shore, where it explodes harmlessly over the sea. A nuclear missile explodes harmlessly over the sea, ladies and gentlemen. As the flying boy's flame flickers out altogether, he begins to plummet toward Earth, toward a certain doom. Grab me, Johnny boy, that's it. And we see Reed Richards saving him. Who is this unbelievable stranger who has saved the Human Torch? You're safe now, lad. You're safe. In fact, who are all four of these strange and astonishing humans? How did they become what they are? What mystic quirk of fate brought them together to form the awe-inspiring group known as the Fantastic Four? But there is time enough to learn of the task which faces the Fantastic Four. First, let us discover more about their origin. Let us go back to that momentous day when an angry Ben Grimm confronted Dr. Reed Richards. If you want to fly to the stars, then you pilot the ship. Count me out. You know we haven't done enough research into the effect of cosmic rays. They might kill us all out in space. Now, there is something that actually gets lost. I mean, I haven't thought about it in a long time. The fact that, one, Ben Grimm really was against going out at that moment, while it was Sue Richards that talked him into it by baiting him using the word coward. I never thought that you would be a coward, she says. A coward? Nobody calls me a coward. Get the ship. I'll fly her no matter what happens. So in the end, it was Ben Grimm and his ego, not Reed Richards' persuasions, that got him on the ship, which is interesting because there was an entire mini-series that talks about how Reed Richards convinced everybody to get on the ship. The rest is history as we see the Fantastic Four, before the Fantastic Four, sneak onto the base, get into the ship, and blast off. Of course, as they enter space and they fly through the cosmic rays, they immediately start to feel effects like Johnny Storm begins to feel hot and like he's burning up inside, and Ben Grimm becomes heavy and he can't lift up his body. At that moment, the powerful ship's automatic pilot took over and managed to return the sleek rocket safely to Earth in a rough but non-fatal landing. I'm grateful we're all alive. It was mighty close. But Reed, we failed after all your work, your dedication. We failed. Bah, what do you expect? Says Ben Grimm. But we're still not completely safe. We still have to see whether the cosmic rays affected us in any way. Oh, Reed, I feel strange. Susan! Look at Susan. What's wrong? You're fading away. It's impossible. No, somehow the cosmic rays have altered your atomic structure, making you grow invisible. Sis, I can't see you at all anymore. How long will it last? There's no way of knowing. What if she never gets visible again? Look, I see her. I'm myself again. It happened so suddenly, all by itself. You know, the Josh Trank Fantastic Four movie, Fanforstic, really sucked. But one thing I thought it got right was at least trying to show the horror of that moment, of watching your body just go through the changes. We get so used to how comic books are that we forget how they were sometimes, and I've got to say, much has been said about Ben Grimm and Reed Richards' friendship before they got into the accident. Nothing in this book so far has even shown that they were friends before. As a matter of fact, every bit of dialogue that Ben Grimm has seems to be hatred towards Reed. And then, of course, we find that he's in love with Sue Storm as well, and he's jealous, and that could be the main focus, which is also something that's not really brought up now. Of course, we all know that it's Susan Storm who once again proved to be a little bit of a biatch when she calls Ben Grimm. He turns into some sort of a thing, which, congratulations, that's your name from now on, Ben. Then we see Johnny Storm, and at first he's really scared because he's bursting into flames, but he starts flying and he gets all excited. And of course, it's pointed out that they've got more power than any human alive, and so they should be helping mankind. They do a hands in. We're going to be the Fantastic Four, and they start naming themselves Human Torch, Invisible Girl, and Reed Richards says, I'm Mr. Fantastic. What a dick. And so we begin Chapter 2 of Fantastic Four #1, The Fantastic Four Meet the Mole Man. I love the first image because it's the cover, but the interiors are like way different. So anyway, we see Reed Richards passing around a picture of a big old hole in the ground around a nuclear power plant, and we found out that there are holes like this popping up all over the world next to nuclear power plants. That's just it. It's happening to atomic plants all over the world. No one knows how or why. Wait, according to the steady impulses on my radar machine, another cave-in is about due to take place. The Hoosier Wizards does what now? And even as Reed Richards speaks, halfway around the world in French Africa, the following scene takes place, and we see some soldiers standing there where they feel a rumble when all of a sudden the earth opens up below them. It's an earthquake, but here in the desert, impossible. Impossible or not, Pierre almost fell to his doom, which is kind of the second person almost falling to their doom. Doom seems to be someplace people fall into a lot in this book. So the soldiers watch as their atomic plant falls into the ground, but the worst is yet to come, for less than 30 seconds later. In the name of heaven, what is that? What indeed? It is a gigantic pair of claws, the like of which have never been seen on Earth or any planet in the universe. It is unbelievable, mind-staggering, but real. Artillery! Bring the artillery! Hurry, hurry! And we see a large monster crawl out. Artillery of what uses artillery against a creature whose hide is powerful enough to dig its way up through countless, actually it says countless, but I think that's just a typo, tons of rock-hard earth. Artillery of what uses artillery against a monster who can crush a heavy tank in one hand? But just as it seems that nothing in the world will halt the nightmare menace, the shrill sound of a commanding voice is heard, and the Goliath stops in his tracks. Enough! Return to Earth's core. Our mission here is finished. Go! For even such a monster heeds its master, a master known as the Mole Man. Reed Richards' radar notices the seismic event that had just happened, and he pinpoints the location of where it all must be coming from, a place called Monster Isle, which Ben Grimm believes to be a fantasy island, a place that does not exist. However, they fly to it, and as they're climbing up a mountain, if this is just a wild goose chase, mister, I'll make you live to regret it. Save your breath for the climb, gruesome. You know, it's kind of funny. Sue Storm, everybody's like, oh, she's the little lady in the older comics. Damn, she's got a lip, man. Hold it. I hear something. It's coming from below. Look at those eyes. Suddenly, a living three-headed nightmare hurls itself at them from over the edge of the peak of Monster Isle. The creature chases after Susan, but she turns invisible, confusing it. That's when Mr. Fantastic turns his arms into lassos, grabs onto the neck of the monster, and hurls him into the water. But before they could catch their breath, the ground below Johnny Storm and Reed Richards collapses, and Reed Richards uses his body as a parachute to save the flyer of the group. Finally, the amazing duo float down to the bottom of the pit. It's pitch dark. What kind of place could this be? If only we had something to light the place, like a flame or something. Then Johnny finds a trap door, but as it opens, a blinding light so bright it causes them to black out. It might be minutes or hours later when the two men regain their senses, only to find themselves garbed in a strange adhesive-type suits which protect them from the blinding, unearthly glow. My head. The light actually caused us to lose consciousness, but how did we get into these suits? So, you've recovered, have you? It's about time. Who are you? I can't see. And where are we? The reason you cannot see is you are blinded by the glare from the Valley of Diamonds. And as for me, I am the Mole Man. Chapter 3 of the Fantastic Four #1, The Mole Man's Secret. Before we witness the breathtaking conclusion of our amazing tale, let us gather together all the loose ends. Let us return to the 2 members of the Fantastic Four who did not fall below during the cave-in. And we see Sue Richards as she looks as to be coming back into view, and a creature's behind her. Reed and Johnny, gotta find them. Wait, that noise behind me, what? But other ears also hear the menacing sounds, and other eyes behold the frightening sight. The eyes of the Thing. Duck, Sue, out of the way, let me handle them. I should have done a Brooklyn accent, I think. And we watch as the Thing quickly dispatches the monster by throwing him into the ocean, which is apparently a weakness of the monsters. And we cut to Reed and Johnny Storm with the Mole Man. So, you have never before heard of the Mole Man, eh? Well, soon the world shall hear of me, for soon the Mole Man will have the entire world in his power. How did you get here? What is this place? And so the Mole Man begins to tell us of his origin. It all started long ago because the people of the surface world mocked me, and we see a girl saying, "What, me go out with you? Don't make me laugh." And an older man, "I know you're qualified, but you can't work here. You'd scare our other employees away." And a douche, "Hey, is that your face? Are you wearing a mask? Ha ha." It's Nelson. Finally, I could stand it no longer. I decided to strike out alone to search for a new world, the legendary land at the center of the earth, a world where I could be king. My travels took me all over the globe. Even this loneliness is better than the cruelty of my fellow man. And then, just when I had almost abandoned hope, when my little skiff had been washed ashore here on Monster Isle, I found it. That strange cavern. Can it lead to? I soon saw where it led. It led to the land of my dreams. Down there, below, I found it. It's the Earth's center. But in the dread silence of that huge cavern, the sudden shock of my loud outcry caused a violent avalanche, and when it was over, I had somehow miraculously survived the fall, but due to the impact of the crash, I had lost most of my sight. Yes, I have found the center of the earth, but I was stranded here like a human mole. That was the last of my misfortune. My luck began to turn in my favor. I mastered the creatures down here, made them do my bidding, and with their help, I carved out an underground empire. Wait a second, hold on. Dude, you cannot gloss over how you came to be able to control a monster the size of a mountain. I'm sorry. So, yeah, I don't buy it. So, the Mole Man goes on to explain how he kind of got mole powers, that he could sense things in the dark. He's got a radar sense now, and he's got mole-like speed, so it's hard for people to strike him. And then, after a demonstration of that particular power, he goes on to lay out his master plan. Now, before I slay you all, behold my master plan. See this map of my underground empire. Each tunnel leads to a major city. As soon as I have wrecked every atomic power plant, every source of earthly power, my mighty mole creatures will attack and destroy everything that lives above the surface. And now at my signal, those creatures of darkness, my denzians of Earth's center, shall dispose of all of you witless intruders. And we see the Thing and Sue Storm come in. We'll see about that, Mole. The Thing lunges for the Mole Man, but before he get to him, the Mole Man signals. And hearing the Mole Man signal, the largest and most deadly of his underground creatures ponderously raises itself into the room. Let's try that again. Hearing the Mole Man signal, the largest and most deadly of his underground creatures ponderously raises itself into the room, its brainless rage directed at the 4 astonished humans. And then the Fantastic Four fly into blazing action. Look out, Reed. I'm gonna burn my way out of this monkey suit. Good boy, Torch. Why couldn't you have done that a half hour ago? So Johnny Storm flies around the monster's head a couple of times, and we see the Mole Man trying to escape. Reed, the Mole Man, he's escaping. Not if I can help it, Sue, and help it I can. So they try to make it to the surface with the Mole Man in their arms. Not romantically, of course. But before they can, the Mole Man signals to his creatures one more time, and they start coming towards him. But the Human Torch melts the earth, cause cave-in. We did it! We're free! And the entrance to the Mole Man's empire is sealed forever! Moments later, but where is the Mole Man? I left him behind. He'll never trouble anyone again. And the words of Mr. Fantastic are indeed prophetic, as seconds later, he's destroyed the entire isle. He's sealed himself below forever. It's the best way. That way, there was no place for him in our world. Perhaps he'll find peace down there. I hope so. I just hope we've seen the last of him. But whether we've seen the last of Mole Men or not, we will see much more of the most amazing quartet in history in the next great issue of The Fantastic Four. Don't miss it. So that was the first issue of Fantastic Four. What did you think? My little opinion of it is, I think it's all right. It holds up. Yeah, the Stan Lee dialogue, trying to read that out loud sometimes is difficult. He's very flowery, and I gotta admit, I've done a whole bunch of takes on this to the point where it's like, oh, fuck it, I don't care anymore. One thing, though, the Fantastic Four literally did absolutely nothing. The Mole Man said he's got tunnels going up everywhere, all around the world, and basically they sealed him into his home and ran away. That's it. They did nothing. The Mole Man is still free to do whatever the hell he wants to Earth now. Thanks, guys. Thank you for that. Anyway, that's my opinion on the whole thing. What is yours? Let me know in the comments below. Let me know if you still like these First Appearance Fridays. I certainly do, although I need another name for them. I think it'll always be First Appearance Friday, but I need something for the videos especially. Let me know in the comments below what you think of the video, what you think of the Fantastic Four #1, and if you have a good name for this style of video, this series of videos. Also, if you don't mind helping out the channel, go on over to Patreon, drop $1 in the till, or to Ko-Fi. Even if you don't want to do a monthly thing, Ko-Fi has a tip jar. Just drop $1 there, and I do have patron-only content, so you get something on Ko-Fi or Patreon. Also, don't forget to click like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss anything. Cool things happen around these parts. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done all that, and to everyone, all of the true believers, thank you very, very much for watching.